we'll just go ahead and get started. My name is Dana Brigman. I am an affiliate with Volhard for all things nutrition and supplements, and my business is the Canine Coach Carolinas. I am based out of South Carolina, moved here 2 years ago from North Carolina, and I am certified in canine nutrition. I am a raw dog food specialist, and I am also certified in aromatherapy for animals, and I am certified in raindrop, and I am also certified in homeopathy. So these are all things very near and dear to my heart about helping dogs with natural wellness. So I consider myself a natural wellness educator, and I like to bring these modalities of wellness together and use them to help heal our pets. So first and foremost always is nutrition, which is one of the reasons why I love Volhard. And if we don't have that foundation of nutrition right, everything else is just that much harder. So that's first and foremost. So today we're going to move in and start talking to you a little bit about essential oils. I know that sometimes that is a pretty scary topic. And even just this past Sunday, I was chat with someone, and she's like, I've heard essential oils are dangerous for dogs. And so we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit, and feel free to ask the questions that you have. And over the course of the next few weeks, I really hope to help you become very comfortable with using essential oils for your dogs. So I see a couple people counted in the live. If you would just comment so that I can see that you can hear me okay, and that if you're asking questions that I can follow those questions in the comments. I think that I can see them on this particular screen. So many of you know that essential oils are basically parts of the plant. And they can come from the leaves, the stems, the bark, the roots, the flowers. So no, I can't see. Oh, yep. Hi, Alicia. How are you? So it can come from many aspects of the plant. Not all parts of the plant are okay to make an essential oil out of. And so this is one of the important pieces that we start to understand about quality and the use of essential oils. But when you're using a great quality oil, you don't have to worry about those pieces and parts, right? Sometimes we will tell you to make sure that it is a certain constituent of the plant, or a certain name of the plant, like Lavandula augustifolia. That is true lavender. If you see something called lavandin, that is not lavender. And it's often what we find in some of our fragrances and other products. Not a bad product in some cases, but just has a completely different purpose. So we'll be talking about more of these things. And again, I want you to feel comfortable popping in and asking questions as you have them. So knowing that essential oils come from plants, we like to call it nature's pharmacy, right? When you really start studying this and understanding that the plant is using its own material to keep it healthy, to keep that plant healthy or the environment around it healthy, then things start to make a little bit more sense about why certain plants do certain things. And I'll give you an example. One of the first things that comes to mind for many people to use essential oils for is flea and tick repellent. Well, what in nature keeps fleas and ticks out of the environment for certain areas, for certain gardens, for certain plants? There is actually a plant called Kunzea, or the tick plant, that naturally repels ticks from that environment. And so that's a great one when we start making blends to make our own natural flea and tick repellents for our pets. So we have these plant matters. They are then harvested, and those materials, depending on whether it was the flower or the stem or the root or the whatever, go through a distillation process. And that process is extremely important to know how to do it right, how to do it effectively. There are even timing issues that matter when it comes to harvesting, or how long a material needs to be perhaps set aside before it's distilled into the essential oil. And so all of these things are super important. Once we get the distilled oil out, then that's where it comes to you and I to start using it. It's super important to understand that we can use it 3 ways. The third way is a little more questionable to some, and we're going to come back to that topic in a future discussion. But we can use them aromatically, which is where we inhale the aromatic scent of the essential oil. Now, this is very different than inhaling a fragrance. They often smell good. Sometimes the smell is like, oh my God, that doesn't land well at the back of my throat or the back of my nose, or it brings up an emotional component to it. That is hitting your limbic system and doing some very important work when it reaches that limbic system. So the aromatics are very important. We can use them topically, which means we apply an essential oil directly to the skin or to the fur of ourselves or our pets. And then there is an option for ingesting. This is considered to be a French use of essential oils, and you will hear many people say you should never ever ingest an essential oil. And that's just not the case. My dogs ingest them all the time, as do I. It's important to know which ones are safe to do. You'll see a term often when you're looking up something in Google, for example, as GRAS, and that stands for generally regarded as safe or generally recognized as safe. And that means it's generally recognized as safe to ingest, okay? We're going to put that ingestion topic off to the side, and we'll come back to it in one of our future lessons. So let's talk about those aromatics. We don't want fragrance only. If you are shopping for essential oils, and you go to Walmart, or you go to Bath & Beauty, or TJ Maxx, or Ross, or some of those other places, sometimes even some of your local health food places, you may see essential oils that are more fragrance than they are therapeutic, so to speak. The fragrance is not the issue in terms of getting to use it for that limbic system, right? We need whole essential oil molecules. If we were only getting fragrance, there's not a lot of aromatherapy that can even be associated with that. And more often than not, fragrance is actually synthetic. When we have synthetics that go towards the body doesn't know what to do with a synthetic product. It doesn't understand that. And that's in many times why we have issues with medications, and the body doesn't know what to do with that. It's why things get stored in the liver or the cells or the fat tissues of our body, because the body doesn't know how to process those synthetics out. So it says, I don't know what to do with this, and tucks it away inside the body somewhere. So fragrance is not our goal. So it's really important that you start reading the label and understanding the quality of your essential oil and whether it has in some way been what we call adulterated, meaning it is not just essential oil in the bottle. There may be some filler, there may be some synthetic version of it, there may be some alcohol added or some other product that allows that to be stretched into bigger volumes. So for example, if you find a bottle of rose essential oil, like it's up here at Publix near my house, and it's $11 for a little half milliliter bottle, can't be real, right? Can't be real. It takes far too many rose petals to make an authentic version of rose oil. And rose is extremely expensive, extremely powerful and amazing and wonderful. And do I use it when we have something deep-rooted emotional going on, or when things feel pretty special? Yeah, rose is amazing, but you're not going to find it in a quality form in some of these locations. It's going to have been adulterated or stretched, or in some cases you'll find essential oils that are called fractionated. And there is a couple of companies that do a lot of this. And fractionated means that they distill the plant matter into an essential oil, but then they remove out some of the constituents. They take out some of the constituents, which often changes how it smells. And in many cases, that's their intent, is to reach you on a more fragrant, appealing matter than that therapeutic matter. So for example, comparing lavender from different companies, you will often see that they smell different. The lavender that I use smells like dirt. It does not smell, it has a floral tone to it, but there is a natural element to it that's a little more dirt-like, because the essential oil has not been fractionated to smell better. When we fractionate something, when we take constituents out of an essential oil, we are not using it for its full aromatherapeutic benefit. Okay, very important for you to understand that. So don't buy your essential oils at TJ Maxx, Bath and Body Works, Walmart, places like that. Even in the topical arena, when you look at a bottle of essential oil from Walmart, and trust me, I've done it, I have them tucked away somewhere because I've compared many times, many brands, you'll see written on there, it'll say for aromatic use only. Now let's think about that for a minute. If we have a bottle of lavender, lavender is one of the most very beneficial essential oils for skin health, even very effective in the first aid arena for healing burns, for example. And you buy a bottle of lavender that says you can't put it on your skin, that should be a big red flag. That should be a huge red flag, right? True Lavandula augustifolia, these are its botanical names, is excellent for skin use. Excellent to use in the first aid box, right? So, excuse me, I want you guys to start thinking about those things and understanding what it is you're looking at and how labeling works. For those of you who follow this page, you often see that we tell you labels, even for the dog food, have hidden messages in them, right? They don't put the right stuff on the label. They don't always tell the truth. They don't always put the details of what's actually going on. It is no different in the essential oil world, right? And in fact, essential oils, according to the FDA, are considered cosmetics, and the requirements for labeling for cosmetics are even less specific than they are for foods. So really, I want you to think about that. So, what can we use essential oils for? Almost everything. You've probably seen some little memes fly around from time to time that says there's an oil for that. And there is. There is an oil for almost everything you can come up with. And I use them every single day for my dogs, for myself, in my wellness business. And we can use them for first aid. We can use them for emotional work. I do a ton of emotional release work, which in fact is how I got started with essential oils many years ago. Is I was looking for things that I could use in my kennel building when I had dogs come in for board and train, so that they would not be so stressed out on arrival, when their parents left them, when they were under stress of working, the actual training activities, which is pretty hardcore in a 2-week or 3-week intensive board and train, when I had dogs with separation anxiety. And then when I made the connection of using essential oils for dogs with aggression, man, light bulbs went off, right? There's also a nutritional component to that, but when I started putting these modalities of nutrition and wellness with essential oils and detox work and all of the things that come together with these modalities, man, I was seeing far better results, more sustainable, more durable results. And so now, to me, it all is blended together. I really don't do one without the other very often. So we can work on emotions with our dogs. We can tackle things like anxiety, aggression, confidence, grief, abandonment. I just did a podcast this morning that'll go live probably sometime over the weekend with Dr. Barb Fox, and our entire topic was about emotional roots and emotional releases in our pets and how we can use essential oils to do that. But I can also use essential oils for first aid, and we'll spend a little bit of time talking about that topic in great detail coming soon too. I use it for the aging pet. I have a protocol for almost everything: vaccine preparation, vaccine aftercare, that blends together homeopathic work along with some essential oils. We can do it for car rides. We can do it for dogs transitioning from one home to the other. I used oils this weekend when my own dog woke up in crisis, and honestly, I thought he was dying. He was being strangulated by the bed sheets and unable to breathe on his own. Boy, was that traumatic. So I brought out my essential oils. I brought out frankincense to bring oxygen to his brain. He was doused in it. I brought out peppermint to help cool him. I brought out cypress, which helps the circulatory system. And when you learn more about cypress, they all have sort of these origins and stories. And one of the things about cypress says, I have a desire to stay. And so I was reading or thinking that affirmation, I have a desire to stay. I want you to stay. I want you to stay alive. And cypress essential oil was one that I used quite a lot of with him. We can use it for bee stings. We can use it for strained ligaments and joints and a whole host of things. So you name a topic, there's an essential oil for that. Okay? Every system of the body can be benefited by bringing essential oils into the equation. Every system of the body. Heart health, brain health, respiratory, skeletal system, blood health, and so on, right? So as we go, we will do more depth on these. But let's talk a little bit about some of the fears, right? That's kind of where I want to introduce you to this concept, figure out where your questions are, and go from there. But how many of you have heard tea tree is dangerous for dogs? There was a time a couple of years ago that there was this internet post flying around going, oh my God, essential oils are going to kill every dog on the planet, and Lord help us about the cats. We'll come back to cats in a second, right? But I hear every time I start talking to folks about essential oils that, oh, you can't use tea tree, it's dangerous. And then every year, that same Facebook post starts making its rounds. What I know, or obviously we never got all the details. Nobody wanted to ever tell the whole truth about that. But what we know is that essential oil being used, that dog was sick. He was unhealthy during this scenario, right? But he was in a closed room with tea tree diffusing for several consecutive days nonstop. Likely, from what we understand, in a building in which there was other chemical work taking place. So there was a lot of factors about that. When we think about tea tree and we have a pure, unadulterated tea tree that has been created, distilled, and packaged in a highly quality way with integrity and intention, that oil can be very safe for our pets. Now, a lot of people will put it in the diffuser because they like the smell of it. A lot of people will use it for cleaning products. Okay. I tend to reserve tea tree essential oil for skin conditions and use it for a limited period of time. No matter what issue I'm working on, I'm probably not going to use the same oil for 10 to 20 days in a row, right? Even if I'm trying to heal a condition, I may use it for 3 to 5 days and then rotate a different oil in, or take a break from that oil and then go back to it. But tea tree, unadulterated tea tree, is excellent to use for healing skin conditions. Okay? Let me just clarify here too that because I am associated with the sales of essential oil, I am not going to get into using disease names or medical terms often. I try to stay away from that. And we will talk more about what we call above the wellness line, meaning how we bring the body back to health, not how we deal with disease. Okay? So just if you feel like I'm talking in a quirky way, it's because I am bound by something called compliance as someone who can earn a living based on using essential oils, and we cannot use medical terms when we talk about essential oils publicly. Okay, so skin conditions, and you know what they are. Tea tree can be extremely beneficial for that. People also panic about the cat. Many of you who have dog homes also have cats in your home, and you think, oh my God, I can't use essential oils because I have a cat. It's going to kill the cat. It won't. If you are using authentic, pure, high-quality essential oils, as long as you give the cat an opportunity to say, I'm out of here, I don't like the smell of that, don't want to deal with that, and he can leave the room, no problem. But there are many veterinarians that I know, and you can go to, I think it's Genoa Veterinary Services. I have to look up her Facebook page. But that's Dr. Susan Albright in Wisconsin. Her cat is usually wrapped around the diffuser. He loves it, okay? And she usually has 5 or 6 diffusers going in her clinic at any given time, with cats all over the place. They're the resident clinic cats. And then they come in for appointments and stuff, and there's not an issue. So where this is rooted from is cats have a different metabolism process in their liver in terms of the enzymes needed to break down plant material. Now, if you want to go read more about that, you can. My website has more information about this. There's lots of information on the internet about it. Be careful who you listen to, because again, some people are going to tell you, oh my God, you got a cat, you can never use essential oils. It's just not true. They do have this different metabolism process, but that doesn't mean they cannot be around essential oils. If they don't like it, let them leave the room. So don't lock them in a room. When you use a diffuser, don't diffuse the same oil all day, every day. They are not plug-ins. They are not Glade air fresheners. They are not Febreze, which would be far more dangerous to your cat than a natural product like an essential oil. Okay? When we talk about using oils on cats for aromatherapy purposes or first aid purposes, the ratios of dilution are significantly greater than might be for the dog or might be for yourself, but totally possible. One of my mentors has a cat that was 30 years old when he died. And she says he did not run out of life, he ran out of body. This cat he didn't want to go, right? She really had a hard time with him actually letting go because he loved life. But she oiled that cat all the time. He was around her horses with essential oils. He was around her dogs with essential oils. And she says all the time, I've never killed a cat using essential oils neat. And neat means we are not diluting them. Okay? So just be aware of that. If you are uncomfortable for any reason, just don't do it. Just don't use them. There's a list that flies around periodically about oils that you should not use with your dog. It says they're unsafe. And there's several on there that says you cannot use. Again, not true. And if you go to my website, so my website is caninecoach.dog, D-O-G, and then I have a whole section out there about essential oils, and that section is well-oiled canine. And there's information in there about oils that you should avoid with your dog. And they're the cheap ones. We've covered this, right? They're the cheap, synthetic, fragrance-only, diluted, stretched, adulterated in some way, essential oils. I'll also take this opportunity to say that I believe in the energetics and the frequency and the integrity of the company or the people, even the individuals in some cases, producing essential oils. It's the same thing for our foods. It's one of the things that I love about Volhard is I love Wendy, right? And what she's done and what she's created and how Brian and Jennifer and others on the staff have embraced that and are following her goals for this business, and really more importantly, goals for the food, and the health of our animals is at the core of that. There are essential oil companies, brands, people who are some gnarly, nasty people. And if you pay attention, you can figure that out. And so their frequency, their intention, their energy when they are creating these oils or producing them for sales, their energy is in that bottle. Their energy is in that plant. Their energy is in that aromatherapy. It's either extremely positive and high with the right intentions, or there may be something a little less positive going on. So be careful. Just be aware of that as you're making your choices. Yeah, Alicia, there are many, many factors to take into consideration, and it's not always only the product itself. It's the integrity, the intention, the purpose. And that is a very powerful thing for me. So let's talk a little bit about how we introduce essential oils to our dogs. So many people, yep, Jennifer, we absolutely have to be vigilant, and we have to dig a little deeper, right? It is not about going and buying a bag of dog food off the shelf. It's not even about buying one off the internet. It's about knowing the back end of that company. And again, why I love Volhard is there is integrity and there is purpose that is about the animal eating that food. That is the end game, and that's what's important. So, people turn off their dogs to essential oils way too often because we move way too fast. So when you have, let me just grab a bottle of essential, oh, I need to, that's going to show my brand. Let me figure out how to do that next time. If you have an essential oil, when you crack the cap on it, your dog can smell the aromatics of that bottle from just a little bit of being open. You do not have to stuff the bottle under their nose and let them give a big old whiff of it, right? Your dog's nose, as you know, is far more sensitive to smell and olfactory senses than yours is mine. And so even just a little bit is going to be taken in by them and reach to their limbic system within seconds of inhalation. So what I often do is just crack the bottle a little bit, let them kind of see if they want to check it out or not, and then I'll put it on myself, and I now become a human diffuser. Okay, that's one of the first ways to introduce. Or I'll put it in a diffuser. Jen says she's diffusing lavender now. So we'll put essential oils into the diffuser and let those aromatics move through the room. Depending on the size of your room, you're not going to get these heavy concentrations of essential oils. But your dog is going to start getting adjusted. Yes, absolutely, Alicia. But your dog is going to start getting adjusted to that fragrance, right? And in that moment, it is a fragrance. We're not going to get a lot of therapeutic benefit for things like skin health or digestive health from just a little diffuser, right? But you will certainly get some emotional benefit, some respiratory benefit, and so on. So we have to figure out what are we trying to achieve with the use of the essential oil as to which method of application we want to use. That matters. Okay? But that is a great way to begin introducing essential oils into your home. You can be the diffuser, you can use a diffuser, or you can put a drop on your hands and then just pet your dog. Rub their ears, rub down their back, and you're applying just a little bit of one drop to your dog. That's considered a neat application. Their fur will act as a wick and actually pull that oil down through the follicles of fur and into their bloodstream. And that happens pretty quickly. When you put an essential oil on a dog, for example, it's not going to feel oily in the same way it would as if you had put coconut oil on them. The makeup of that oil is not at all oily. And it will flash off pretty quickly. Okay? So you can start in those ways. We can create a misting spray, right? If I'm doing wound care, for example, I might make a concoction, and we'll talk more about recipes and all those things as we go, but I might make a concoction of essential oils in a bottle with maybe some cheap vodka because the vodka dries quickly, or some witch hazel, or some distilled water, maybe a little coconut oil, maybe a little vitamin E to do the emulsification. Emulsification is extremely important to allow the oil to stick to something as it comes out and make a bigger spray. But a little spritz for a misting spray can be helpful to skin healing. You could spritz their bedding if we need to calm them down. You could spritz the dog, right? You could spritz his collar. You could spritz a bandana. We like sometimes to use bandanas so that we can take them off intermittently, or the collar can come off, even with like a respiratory support, and we wanted to put eucalyptus on there, for example. I might put a bandana on with some eucalyptus on it and let the dog wear it for 15-20 minutes, take it off, put it back, take it off, put it back, and do that several times so that it's not this continuance of an inability to get away from that fragrance or that aromatherapy, because it's a big smell for your dog, right? So intermittent can be very helpful to the conditions that we're trying to work through. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about something called imprinting. I'll get to that too. You're right, Jen. We'll talk about that in a minute. So imprinting is when we are trying to help a dog who may have a fear of something, for example, take himself to a calm state of mind when that scent is associated. So let's say a dog has fear of fireworks, the thunder, for example, and you go run and grab your lavender. And listen, y'all, there are many choices. Cedarwood is one that comes to mind for this. Vetiver, valerian. There are many options that are very calming and soothing. You can make a combination or a blend of essential oils. But if you go grab that in the moment that your dog is sitting there shaking like a leaf and scared to death, and you have never introduced it to him, it may or may not work. For some dogs, it may imprint the fear with that scent. For example, a dog who gets hit by a car, and we bring out the lavender to calm them. Now he has an association of lavender with, I just got hit by a car. So the next time you bring it out, it might not work, right? So when we imprint something, the idea is to do it at a time that the dog is calm, relaxed. We can sit with them on the couch. We can do that petting technique, add in some massage, and they're getting the imprint of that scent in an association with being calm and relaxed. So that when we bring it out in the future, in those moments that we know they're likely to go to stress or go to anxiety, that they can be like, okay, I remember that. Remember that smell, right? And use that imprint, use that reminder of what that smell means, what it feels like, to help them calm down. Excuse me. Gonna drink something. So imprinting is an important step. If you are in an emergency, we don't have time to worry about that. In an emergency, we're going to deal with that emergency and we'll figure out a new oil for later, right? For the future. But imprinting is a very good piece of the puzzle. There's another part that we call self-selection, and that's what Jen's talking about here, letting them choose. And I do this a lot for dogs who have separation anxiety, right? I'll take the caps and I'll set them out on an ottoman, for example, and let the dog sort of approach and sniff each of them. And maybe he will repeat that, and then he might go back to one. He might try to lick that one, or he might be very interested in a specific one. This is called self-selection. This is letting them choose what they need. They know better than we do. So when I'm doing separation anxiety, for example, I might put out cedar wood and lavender and vetiver or valerian or a whole host of other options. Many times they choose cedar wood. Will all dogs do that? No, your dog may be very different. But the point is, they have a choice. They know what they need. And so if I'm holding out an essential oil and they're drawn to it and they want more of it, I'm going to give them more of it. I go into a lot of training lessons and I cheat. I put essential oils on my kneecaps or my ankles, depending on if it's a little dog, right? And suddenly that dog's like, oh, let me just smell you. And the people are like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, it's okay. Don't worry about it. And so I'll usually have whatever oil in my pocket or my bag, and I'll bring it out. And if that dog then wants to smell that bottle more or to lick it off my hands, I will absolutely let them. They are telling us, I need more of that. I like that. It's helpful. I want to do something with that. And I will let them choose and have pretty much as much of that as they might like. Okay, I've had dogs try to take the bottles away from me and want to, so you have to have a good grip on it and not let that happen. But many dogs are like, oh yeah, I need more of that. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about diluting essential oil also. So a neat application is where you take a drop from the bottle and drop it right onto your skin or the animal's body, right? That is a neat topical application. No dilution whatsoever. If you take a drop of essential oil and apply it neat, and then you use you use a carrier oil like coconut oil or jojoba oil or neem oil or whatever it might be, and they all have unique constituents too. But let's say coconut oil. You've still applied a neat drop, a whole drop of essential oil, and you have layered the coconut oil over it to maybe spread that out a little further or to perhaps quell what we call a hot oil. So oils that feel hot to the skin they're high in phenols usually. They are like cinnamon, clove, eucalyptus might feel that way. Peppermint is more cooling, but it's still a surprise to the dog. When their skin starts to have this cooling sensation, like they've just had a peppermint patty, like, right? That's a surprise to them. And the coconut oil can help soothe that. So when we're going to use those kinds of oils, we often put the drop of oil in our hand, apply some coconut oil, rub that together, and then rub that new mixture on the dog. You're still applying a whole drop, right? That is not really a dilution. I call it a distribution, meaning we're going to make sure that it doesn't feel hot to the skin and that we're putting it on a larger area of application. If I have a little dog, like an itty bitty, like a Yorkie or a puppy, for example, or in some cases maybe even a geriatric, and I need a half a drop or a quarter drop, right? Because it doesn't always take a lot of essential oil. Then I need a new little bottle, and I should have brought them in here. They're called dram bottles, and you can get them like 1 dram, 2 dram. They're tiny little bottles. And so you can put a drop of essential oil in there and 10 drops of carrier. You've now made a new blend, and you take a drop of that new mixture, right? A drop of the new mixture, and now I'm using 1/10 of a drop of oil. Or I could put 5 drops and 5 drops, and now I've got a 50-50 ratio when I use 1 new drop of the new mixture. Those are dilutions. And sometimes that's what we need. When we make a misting spray and we take I don't know, 10 or 15 drops of a combination of blends, and then we put that in an ounce of water. That's a big dilution, but that's okay. Sometimes that's all we need. Whenever, like, over the years when my dogs, foster dogs, for example, have been spayed or neutered or had their knees done or whatever it may be, I just miss those areas. I keep the healing properties of the oils I want, but I'm not yet touching. I'm not trying to put my hand onto those areas or to touch it, but a little misting spray on or around it can be very beneficial to the healing process. So really important, and I feel like I have said really important many, many times today, but I want you guys to start to understand those differences between, like, what would be a need application and what is a dilution, and why dilution might be really important. There I went again. What was I going to say? You'll hear the term low and slow, right? We don't need to come out with big amounts of essential oil, right? It doesn't take very much. And until your dog really is acclimated, easing them into it is the best way to go. Now again, if you're in a crisis of some sort, then I'm not going to worry about it. We're going to deal with the healing, and we'll figure the rest out later, even if that means those oils are ones that he's turned off by in the future. Okay, so hold on, I'm going to grab something off my printer. You guys pop in some questions if you have them. Are you learning anything? So I just want to share a few oil options for some of the different systems of the body, and then we'll dig in further next go round. So if we're working on skin, some essential oils to choose from would be lavender, melrose. Melissa is a really great essential oil for the cats. Great for dogs. Melissa's pretty expensive, but if you have a cat with a skin condition, Melissa might be your first choice. When we want to support healthy bones, ligaments, muscles, look to copaiba. Copaiba is an essential oil that everybody needs in their house. Everybody. Dogs, people, otherwise. We use a lot of it. Peppermint, lemongrass is extremely beneficial for the ligaments of the body. So when Poppy blew, this was before I was using essential oils as much as I am today, Poppy blew out her left knee before she was a year old. Welcome to having a pit bull, right? And the theory always is if they blow one, they are most likely going to blow the other. I said, not on my watch. And that's one of the, we started working with essential oils, and so she got lots of lemongrass and lots of supplements to support her ligaments. But ligament issues, think lemongrass. Did I mention peppermint? It's a great one. And wintergreen. Wintergreen is one that you will hear people say cannot be used with the dogs. Again, when we choose to use them for their intended purpose, in the right amounts, for the right durations of time, with some pauses or rotations between other oils, it's not an issue. It's not a problem. If it were, my dogs would no longer be on the planet. Okay? Really just start to understand the safe use. Digestive system, think peppermint, spearmint. We can even get into some detoxification work with things like lime essential oil. Emotions, you're going to hear lavender. Copaiba is a great one. Frankincense is another. There are many blends that are super beneficial. I'm a big blend user, but we're going to try and stay away from brand names here. But lavender, frankincense, copaiba, all very beneficial. For the respiratory system, think eucalyptus. And now there are different botanical names of eucalyptus, some much stronger than others. But my little dog, I told you a few minutes ago, was in a big crisis this weekend. He was not breathing well. I grabbed a bottle of eucalyptus radiata, just the cap, and sat on the counter next to his nose while we were doing everything else, trying to help open his passageways so that he could actually get more oxygen into his brain while he was breathing. And again, I used frankincense on his head. So eucalyptus is a great one. Lemon, peppermint, all extremely beneficial. Peppermint is also helpful for the dog that is overheating. And for the women who might be overheating, right? And that's one of the things I love about essential oils is that we can share them with all the members of the family, right? So a little peppermint on the back of the neck is we like to call our air conditioner. So if you've got a dog and he's been outside and he's hot, you've taken a walk and it's hot, you want to sort of help cool him down, a little bit of peppermint on the belly or on the back with a cool towel, cool, wet, moist towel will be very cooling to your animal. And then there are, again, tea tree when we want to help heal the skin in some way. If I'm working on, say, a urinary tract issue, I'm going for frankincense, copaiba, tea tree, oregano, maybe thyme. If I'm trying to boost the immune system, I'm going to be moving into that category of clove and cinnamon, oregano, thyme, basil, things of that nature. And we have the options, you know, of the topical application, the diffusing application, and this is where I may move into that ingestible. We'll talk about that at the next time. But certainly getting some diffusion going. I had a dog come into my kennel building one time slinging green snot everywhere. I'm like, oh dear, here we go. That vaccine did not work for him, right? And I knew I needed to get that under control. So I always had parental permission to do the things that I was doing. They knew what I was up to. But I ran a diffuser in my kennel building and was rotating several respiratory essential oils and some oil blends, and then he was getting some stuff internally. We knocked that out in about 24 hours, and nobody else was dealing with it. We didn't have any other dogs that were an issue with that. So lots of possibilities for this, and again, we'll dig deeper into the first aid. Helichrysum is another one that I think should be in everybody's first aid kit. It is expensive. There's no question about it. But if your dog is bleeding, internal, external, or otherwise, Helichrysum is the go-to oil to get that under control, even if it's en route to the emergency veterinarian. So Anna says, what's my favorite application for muscle? For muscles, I am a neat application right on the area that is questionable. I'll apply it right there. If it's a big area, like if I was doing Poppy's thigh, I would put a couple of drops and some carrier oil and spread it, but I'm going to use more than a single drop in most likely. Skin support, it depends on the condition of the skin. Like if we have broken skin, if it's bleeding, I'm going with Helichrysum, and it's going to be right in that wound. But if I've got stitches, for example, I'm going to most likely move to a misting spray or an ointment the surrounding area, not the incision itself. If I've got like foot fungus of some sort, I am most likely going to be misting spray. If it's a spot that is wet and I'm trying to dry it out, I'm not going to put an ointment on it, right? The ointment's going to keep it moist. So I'll use oils in cheap vodka, for example, because the vodka is going to flash off and dry quickly, and then those oils will have been absorbed. So it depends on the condition of the skin. Jennifer says, vitamin D supplement I have to take suspended in MCT peppermint. Yeah, gotcha. So your oils are helping your body use your supplement better, which is called bioavailability. And that's one of the things I love about this, right? And I use a lot of supplements myself that have essential oils in them, and I use those for the dogs too. So essential oils, when we take them internally, do increase the bioavailability of those supplements, and it does that through basically going in and cleaning out the receptor sites. It goes in and makes way for those supplements to then be used by the body. So the cleansing properties and the healing, if you will, of the cellular tissues is super powerful. There's I know he's a biochemist, but I think he's a neuroscientist too. His name is Dr. Doug. And I don't remember his last name at the moment. He just goes by Dr. Doug. But he says, why use essential oils? Why use them? And his number one reason is to protect your DNA. Super beneficial, super healthy, and awesome for that. For itchy skin, so itchy skin, food first. I know you know that. But if it's just sort of dry, itchy skin, then I would probably be doing ointments and salves and lots of oils. And so when I use an ointment, for example, when I make a salve, those will keep the essential oils on the surface of the skin longer. So remember I said the fur acts as a wick and starts to pull the oils through. The carrier oil will slow the absorption of any essential oil because its molecules are bigger than the molecules of an essential oil. So they kind of have to fight each other to figure out which one's going to go through first. So a carrier slows the absorption. An ointment slows even more and keeps those essential oils on the surface of the skin longer. So they work in that area longer. Once an essential oil is absorbed into the bloodstream, it goes through the entire body. And that's really awesome. That's great for essential oils. But it's often why people question, well, how do you choose where to put it? How do you choose when to do a topical versus a diffusion versus an ingestible, right? If I'm trying to go after the digestion system, I'm starting with an ingestible, if possible, or at least an application to the belly. That peppermint, spearmint applied to the belly. If I can add it to their food, or I can add it to a gel cap with a coconut oil carrier, I'm going to see if I can get it down that way. In a skin condition, right, then I'm going to try topical application right in that area. For allergic skin, for example, we need to heal the gut. We need to heal the gut. That is always first and foremost. So while that's taking place with good food, good supplements, good all the things Volhard's about, I can soothe the skin topically and make that feel better for the dog while the gut health's doing its work over the next 6, 8 weeks, whatever, right? So sometimes we have to do both, and that's why when I said at the beginning, I bring all these pieces of the puzzle together because they work so beautifully together. So where you, yeah, that's him, Jennifer, thank you. Where you apply oils, whether it's a diffusion, a topical, or an ingestible, is where does it need to work its hardest. Okay, if I'm dealing with a respiratory issue, diffusion is absolutely the way to go. If I'm dealing with muscular, I'm going topical on that muscle. If I've got a liver issue, I'm either going to, and I might do both, I might apply essential oil right over the liver itself and start adding some stuff into the digestive system. So it really just depends on what we're doing and why, what the purpose of using those essential oils is. Brenda says, I rescued a pup. Is veterinary blades seed embedded under the skin? You know what, so yeah, there are essential oils that you can do for this, Brenda, but I would use Silicea homeopathy. Silicea homeopathy is about pulling things through, pulling things out. And a friend of mine was here for the weekend, and she said, there's something in my foot. I stepped on something, and this has been weeks for her. She stepped on something and hasn't been able to sort of poke around and get it out. She says it's pretty painful. So I started giving her Silicea, and Lord knows if that thing didn't move right on through. Yep, homeopathic silica. Yeah, right. Grass. Oh, yeah, that's what I would do. There is an essential oil blend, I'm not naming names, but that is known to help extract things out also. But homeopathic's easy for that one. Are there other questions? Please tell me if you found this at all helpful, or if you have any feedback that I can share. Next week, I think we're going to talk specifically about first aid. And one of my favorite topics is emotions and emotional release. So that will be coming up in a couple of weeks. And feel free to just let me know where your questions are, and I'll start working through the teaching process. Again, my website is caninecoach.dog. There's a whole section out there related to essential oils, and more content gets added all the time. If you need a consultation for essential oils, I'm more than happy to help do that. Check with your own affiliate first. Some of them also do essential oils. Check with them first. But if not, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to help you.